All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I am here with Wendy Laidlaw, and Wendy is the author of Heal Endometriosis Naturally Without Painkillers, Drugs, or Surgery, which is a pretty amazing book, and it's helping women all over the world be able to hear this issue and come to a wonderful conclusion. So it's awesome to have you here, Wendy. It's exciting to be with you. I mean, this is something I've been looking forward to for a long time now, and you know that I've been somebody who maybe not is an expert in alternative medicine and health myself, but I'm somebody who has gone on speaking gigs all over the region in my area in the United States, talking about alternatives to healthcare, at least in this country, Obamacare, and different programs and things that can be done to reduce the cost of healthcare and also allow the ability for alternative medicines and healthcare to come into play in the country even more and be much more accepted. So that's been a really big thing for me in really helping people in my area. And you've got something here that is going to help women and is helping women all over the world. And so it's a much more powerful mission in my estimation. And so it's awesome to be with you here today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And it's great to be speaking to you. It's something that's been a sort of brainchild baby of mine for a long time. And now it's great to have it in paperback. And then I actually, be able to sort of share my story, my success story with other women.
Definitely. Yeah. I understand you've also got this as a audiobook on Audible and all over the place as well too. You have a cookbook that you've released as well to go along with the book, which is awesome. So check it all out. I think it's online. You can go ahead and find it. Just Google it, search it, go to Amazon. But I wanted to ask you, Wendy, the real reason why I want to bring you on today is because you have a powerful story yourself. You're not just somebody who developed this book to help other people and you're trying to do this just for monetary reasons. You are here because you are on a mission to help women all over the world and have them be able to experience the same level of success that you have had, completely healing this issue naturally without all these terrible things, without all the conventional conventional wisdom of medicine and surgery and all the things with doctors. I mean, it's just so much is proven in that space to be false and to not work and to whatever, even though we seem to glorify it in our society today. And you've done amazing things with this personally, yourself, naturally. And so I love to have you share your story because it's so powerful. And I think if a lot of women out there are able to see this message for the first time and hear it from you, they'll really be inspired by that. And that's what excites me. So go for it.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, I think I have to go back to when I was bedridden in chronic levels of pain after having had my 6th surgery for stage 4 endometriosis. I had thought, like everyone else, if I just got wheeled into the operating theatre, cut open and cleaned up like a sort of car that gets a sort of a 40,000 mile service, I would just be wheeled back out and get back into my life again. But that never happened. And I ended up in a chronic state, getting worse and worse and worse. I developed other conditions like adenomyosis. And I kept going up to the doctors and saying, help me. And they kept saying, well, either have a hysterectomy or go on these other drugs or go on these painkillers, nothing of which helped. And I have to admit, I considered, ending it all a couple of times because no one was helping me. They were pretty much insinuating that my pain and my symptoms and everything were all in my head. And as someone that's always been a very kind of entrepreneurial and a go-getter, and I had my own business, full-time business and things, there I was chronically bedbound in high levels of pain, unable to eat, sleep, walk, shower, you name it. I just was in a dreadful state. And for people then to sort of project onto me that I was somehow making this up, who would want to have that as existence? Well, I know when I grew up, I want to be in bed all day in chronic pain. So not only do you have to deal with that every day, but you have to deal with this prejudice against you that you're having to fight to be believed. So I admit that I really reached the end of the road. The doctors had washed their hands with me. I tried the conventional route of all the surgery. That didn't work. In fact, it made me worse. I kept phoning up the surgeon and saying, when am I going to get better? Why is it getting worse? And again, he just didn't want to know. He'd done his bit. He'd washed his hands with me. And then I think I cut my finger. And then I realized I cut my finger one day. And then a couple of days later, I noticed it's starting to heal. And that for me then was suddenly like, oh, my body's healing. So right. If I'm healing my finger, then why is my body not healing my insides? And then that was my first kind of epiphany of kind of like, well, the body's always trying to heal itself. So therefore I flipped it to, well, what's stopping it? And then there, that kind of started. Thank goodness for Dr. Google, and thank goodness for my laptop, and thank goodness that, you know, I still had a brain and fingers working. But that's when I started to do lots and lots of research online to sort of learn about the body. And I just had this hunger for information and education, because I realized that I knew nothing. I was completely kind of ignorant about my body, ignorant about the biology. I had no idea how my body worked. All I knew was that this was kind of, had the head on top of the body, and the head was dictating to the body that I had to zoom around at 100 miles an hour. And I think my body literally went on strike. And then I had to relearn all about myself again, from scratch, on my own. And it took some time to sort of figure everything out. But then I realized that, you know, the pain was caused by chronic inflammation. So then I had to say, well, what was causing the inflammation? And almost become like a detective. So once I realized one thing, then it's kind of like, well, why? And then put my detective hat on and then go and kind of try and find it out. So that's why I kind of wrote my book, because when I was lying in bed in chronic pain, and I still feel emotional about it now, everybody was looking at me going, well, you look okay. You know, had a broken arm or a broken leg, I would have had, in fact, I fell down the stairs and broke 3 ribs, and I got more sympathy for my broken ribs than I did the whole 33 years I had endometriosis. And people were starting to become impatient and kind of like, oh, you're not still ill, are you? And it was just totally and utterly demoralizing. But I think once I started to kind of read and learn about the body, then I started to take some power and control back, and started to kind of figure out, well, what was the cause? And then I could start to swap out or eliminate or introduce things that were anti-inflammatory of a natural means. Sure. And within about 3 months, I mean, I was in chronic states for a very long period of time, but within about, you know, so 10 to 12 weeks, I was starting to improve and feel, you know, differences in my body. But I remember lying in bed thinking, when I get well, because I was determined that nothing was going to, because I was missing out on my children's school plays and rugby matches, and I had to end up winding up my business because, you know, I wasn't there, and there wasn't enough staff to sort of keep it going. And, you know, my husband worked away at the time, and I was really on my own. I had nothing. And I remember thinking, I don't want any woman ever to be in this position that I'm in. And I wrote a diary every day. I chronicled everything that I did. And that's why I wrote my book.
Wendy, you know, it really goes to show your character and your strength. And that's amazing to me. I mean, to think that people would be ridiculing you and putting you down for, you know, going through this whole experience and this whole ordeal is just amazing. I can't imagine that people would treat somebody else like that, and not understand where they're coming from, and not, you know, have any sympathy really for them. And that's just, that's amazing. So that really, like I said, shows how strong you are to get through all of that and to persevere and to not give up and lose hope.
Well, thank you. But I think I know every woman who has endometriosis, those that actually know that is what it is. It takes women on average 8 years to be diagnosed with endometriosis, and the only diagnosis is through surgery, which is just ridiculous. But you've got these millions of other women who are in chronic, you know, pain every month, and they're dismissed as, oh, it's just your time of the month pain, or it's just stomach pain. But then, you know, it becomes just totally affecting their everyday life. But yes, that is actually a big part of the battle. It's not recognized. I mean, if you said to somebody, you know, you had cancer, oh my goodness, everybody gets cancer. Endometriosis works in the same way, but it's just not life-threatening in the same way as cancer. But there is just not the understanding or the empathy or the compassion. And worse, people have to fight to be believed. And that's what I was. And that's why in my book as well, I kind of want to sort of say, you know, give women the right to believe themselves first and foremost. You know, don't let anyone doubt the pain that you're in. I mean, who the heck would make that up? Nobody would want to make that up. And then the tools in which to speak to their doctor if they need the support of their doctor, or to change doctors if they're not getting the support, and to really take back power and control of themselves. Because I think our industrialized countries, we've given over control to the medical profession without thinking what we're doing. Our bodies are our bodies. We know our bodies better than anyone. We might not be medically trained, but we know our bodies better than anyone else. And we can't go to someone and say what's wrong with us when we actually, a lot of us I'm much better now, I'm in tune with my body now. I was not in tune with my body before. I was part of that culture of the better, faster, more now, zooming around 100 miles an hour. And my body, as I said earlier, just went on strike. But once we start to learn why we've got the pain, what is the pain telling us, what have we just eaten, or who have we just been around, or what products we put on our body, suddenly you're able to sort of, as I say, take back control and do something about it.
Right, definitely. And you've been going through, and like you said in your story, you were chronicling your progress and what was working and what wasn't, and you're taking notes, mapping all of this out. And so you've been able to turn that not into an amazing book, but also into amazing programs to help women all over the world. And you recently, I guess, launched your pilot program for or a few different programs that you've been developing for women, where you can take them through step by step and say, here is the process that I've gone through. And first of all, just for those folks out there, we're not making any medical recommendations or saying you have to do this and this is going to, cure all your problems. We're just telling you what has worked and what our personal, viewpoints are, our personal feelings are. But you've built these programs based on all the notes and the experience and everything that you've taken and built out, going through this yourself. And you've been able to help women all over the world already. And I'd love to kind of get into that a little bit as well too. First of all, tell us more about these programs you've developed. I'd like to hear kind of what the process is and what they've done for a few women.
Well, yeah, I think when I was ill in bed, I made a vow that no matter what happened, whatever it did, I would write a book to share with women what I was chronicling and what was working for me, so women didn't have to go through the same pain, the metaphorical pain as well as the physical pain and torment, and they could take back. I thought that would be my gift back, So when I went and then I published my book, and I admit being pretty nervous. I'd never done this before. I worked in real estate and property before. I had no idea about the internet business or publications or Amazon or anything like that. And I just knew that I wanted to say there is another way. I just wanted to share my message. As you say, I'm not making any medical claims, and for goodness sake, use your common sense and liaise with your doctors. If you do read my book, and I've got all my medical disclaimers in there, but I just wanted to say there is another way. Just because we've been brainwashed into the pharmaceutical and the surgical route doesn't mean that is the only route. And every single woman that I know that has taken that route gets worse. They do not get better because they don't actually address what the underlying causes are. So that was my main thing. And then I started to sell some books, started to promote some books, and I was getting some fantastic feedback from women who'd read my book. They identified with it completely, which was just so exciting for me. As I say, I'm not that isn't what I do, is writing, but I just wanted to share my story. And women were identifying with it, and then they were starting to implement the suggestions, and they were starting to see, positivity and decrease in symptoms and pain. And that was just amazing, getting these emails in. But there was also other women who were saying, I've read your book, it's amazing, I don't know where to start, I need some help. And
Right.
That's where I developed the pilot program. And again, I've not done anything like this before, but I just was so keen to help women. I don't want anyone to have to go through what I've been through. It was just hell. And women that are in that situation, they feel lost, alone, isolated, depressed, it's kind of like losing hope. I just want to give them hope. So I ran a pilot program earlier this year, and had 8 women go through the program. They were all bedridden by when they came on the program. We had a very, good sort of group mentality. We worked together as a group. We had group calls every week. We did one-on-one calls every week. We had Facebook groups. We had a membership site where there's kind of self-learning and handouts, downloads. I mean, literally, there's so much in this membership site and everything, because I just literally want everyone to get everything that I had. And in a matter of weeks, women were starting to notice differences. It's not a quick fix. I should point that out. You have to put the work in and the commitment. But, the women that put the work in and the commitment, they get the results. So these 8 women, and they all, by week 6, which is halfway through the 12-week program, they were all starting to notice improvements. And it was fantastic and exciting, because different women were seeing different things at different times. But by that sort of framework, they were really starting to notice their time of the month, their stomach pains, and there's other improvements in and around the body as well, from digestion to I've had all sorts of women have all sorts of other conditions that have all seen improvement as well. Because you give the body everything that it needs. And we have a good program, sort of daily tools that we use and things as well. And I'm with you every step of the way, working with them. then you put a seed in a seed in good nutritious soil, and you give it sunlight and water every day, it grows. But if you put that seed in salted soil without any light or any, it will shrivel up and die. And our body is like that, and seeing the body starting to really respond to the nutrients, because what's very difficult for women when they're in chronic pain is they don't feel like eating. They don't feel, the last thing they feel like doing is going out cooking or buying food and cooking. Well, they can't even get out of bed. So again, we've got these protocols and suggestions and what I refer to as my power shakes and things that, that again, the body's getting fed everything that it needs, educating you, getting all the women on what it is that's going on and what they need, or how their body function, how amazing their bodies are, how their bodies are always wanting to heal themselves, and how we look at sort of picking things out, what's stopping that. So the women, of the 8 women, they all were massively improved by the end of the 12 weeks. All had gone back to part-time work. I've had ladies who were told they would never fall pregnant. So I've got a lady at the moment who's 21 weeks pregnant, another lady that's 6 weeks pregnant, which is just so exciting. And obviously I have to tell them, if it's a girl, they have to call them Wendy.
That's right.
And I've got another lady who's just finished a modeling shoot for a fashion magazine. I mean, she was, again, they were all chronically ill in bed and bedbound, and they'd had countless operations. I had a lady who also had a hysterectomy. She'd had, I think, 12 operations. I said to her, look, you might need to go into my 10-week advance program, because I wasn't sure the 12-week would be enough. But within 8 weeks, she was cycling around the yard, going hiking with her dog. And I'm like, whoa, slow down. We need to get like too energetic too soon, But, as I say, we don't, it's slightly different. Everybody responds to different time frames. It depends on their past. But I had anticipated, because of the number of operations that she'd had, that she would take longer. And even she was seeing the improvements. And I got fantastic video testimonials on my website, which people can go and have a look at as well, just to see that these are real people, not people that I've kind of paid, to do. So
yeah, no, they're incredible. They're very real.
Well, that just feels so exciting to me that I've been able to share my story, what worked for me. And it might not work for everybody, but if you apply the principles, because they're just basic, nature's principles, if you give the body what it needs and you reduce what's causing the inflammation, it's going to heal itself, So that's been very exciting to me.
That's so amazing, Wendy. It really is. And, what's so awesome about what you're doing here too with these programs, working with women personally, is that a lot of people can read a book and they get a lot of great value from it. But I would imagine for these women going through the experience that they are, to just read a book and then just stay focused and motivated to keep on going and doing these things, and staying on task for weeks at a time and continuing the process has got to be really difficult, which is why your story is so incredible that you figured all this out. Not only did you do that, but you stuck with it and you kept, going forward every single day. Until you had the complete healing. And that's incredible right there. But what's so amazing as well, Wendy, is I've known you now for probably a year and a half. And so I'm kind of on the inside track here. I've got the inside scoop as to, where you're at, what you're doing for people. And it's incredible to me because I know you're so dedicated to helping these women. And that's why you develop these programs where you actually do work with them personally, so intensively, weeks at a time. And you help them through step by step, through the process. And that's just incredible. And when you look at the medical field, the medical industry, and how women are spending $50,000 or more on operations, an individual operation, which just makes them worse in a lot of cases, not even better, or just puts them, either way, it does, maybe nothing. It's just, it was ineffective and they move on and still dealing with the same issues. I mean, they spend a fortune trying to figure this stuff out with the conventional, way of doing things, and it doesn't seem to get anywhere. But usually it is worse, not better. And so for you to have so many great success stories with every one of the women that you're working with, and to have, the ability to work with you personally as someone who's gone through all of this process yourself and seen the healing and seen the progress and what can be done naturally without any of the drugs and the surgery and all that terrible stuff, which, kind of freaks me out. Honestly, I'd prefer to do it naturally every time. And that's how I do it. That's how I work. And that's awesome. And I can tell the folks out there listening that Wendy is somebody who is more dedicated you'll ever find in a doctor or a surgeon or somebody else in this conventional field who wants to do some operation or whatever else it might be. And so I really think it's that you're an incredible person for what you've done.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're very sweet. And I feel quite emotional because there are just so many women out there that are in chronic pain, and there's just like no way out for them. And I when women are working with me now, it's my, like, I want them. Yeah, I want to help them no matter what, and if women come onto my program and they are committed to getting themselves, out of pain and out of bed and get rid of these symptoms, I'm there, by their side, cheering them on. And, because obviously 12 weeks is a long time, and of course you're going to get despondent, and of course you're going to have days where you can't be bothered, and not that I crack the whip or anything, but I've been there. I know what it's like, but there's no way in heck I'm leaving you there. You come on this program, I'm going to help you get where you're going to go, because their success is my success. And I've had two ladies who, again, were part of the program, and they were both dreadful states, really chronic pain. They sent me videos, and it's great they sent me videos at the beginning. It sounds awful, but bear with me, because now I have the before and after videos, which are just incredible. And they both met because they were on the group program. They met through the program. And that's what's great about the program too, is because you're working part of a group, and you're championing other people as well. And then you're hearing that it's not just you, you're not alone, and you're all working together. But these two girls, awesome. We have a buddy system as well. So again, working together in pairs, working in groups, it's so important to get that support. And they met in California. They'd never met before, but they were part of their buddy system, and they met, and I've got a great photo of them with their sunglasses on and looking just absolutely gorgeous and healthy. And then again, just last week, they flew off to Iceland together as well. And
wow.
I'm so proud of them, because they have worked so hard. And when I have to remind them, I have to show them their videos for them to realize just how far they'd come, just what dreadful states they're in. So I get very emotional, because, I know what it's like. So if there's women listening to this and they feel like they've given up, and, there is no other way. And as you say, these operations, certainly in America, I don't know, tens of thousands of pounds. Even in the UK, I know my operations cost, and that was how many years ago, £5,000-6,000. It's loads of money and no guarantee of success. And ultimately it makes things worse. And I developed another condition called adenomyosis as a result of that operation. It's like, how the heck did that happen? Yeah. So it's been wonderful to see what worked for me work for other women, and these women too are planning on sort of training as coaches with me, in the next couple of months, so they can go and sort of share this message, because there's over 176 million women that have been diagnosed with a condition worldwide. That's far too many women. And what about that haven't been diagnosed? So I think it's important to share. I always felt this was a sense of duty, that whatever happened, that I had to share my story with people. And the fact that it is working through the program, and I although I was hearing it from other people from my book, is great, but hearing it actually working and working with these women is fantastic. So I guess that's my life's work now, really, just sharing my message that there is another way.
Right. Definitely. That's so awesome. Well, Wendy, I'd love to have you share the long-term vision. Like, what's your plan for things going forward? What do you want to build? What do you want to see? I mean, it sounds like you've got really some amazing long-term goals to help women everywhere and just grow that and expand that mission, that message. And so I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on that.
Well, yeah, I love to obviously share the successes of the women. It's one thing sharing my success, but I think people think, oh, well, it's okay for her. It worked for her. It won't work for me. So I wanted to share the success of the other women. I've got a cookbook as well, just help people just, with nice, simple recipes. I'm looking at bringing out a supplement range as well, which is specifically tailored for women with endometriosis, specialist supplements, so that they know that when they're taking them, that they're dairy free, soy free, wheat free, the whole shebang. They are the best quality supplements at obviously at the best possible prices. But I want women to be able to have these things so that they there's that confidence. So that's kind of part of, and obviously just get the message out there to as many people as possible. That there is another way. And I would love to get in front of the doctors and their training, in part of their training. And although it's very heavy medically, driven by the pharmaceutical industry, and I know that they're very linear in their thinking, very blinkered to their approach, I would love to challenge that and just get in front of them and just put the seed in there so that whilst they may need to conform to certain kind of rules for the pharmaceutical industry, etc., that they, natural, drugs just enhance the problem. They do, and they give more side effects. At least if there's one in a room of 100 doctors who might go, ooh, I wonder, that patient who I've tried everything else on isn't working, maybe she could even consider another route. Because what does it say about pioneers? They have arrows in their backs. I'm quite happy to get arrows in my backs if it means helping women and getting the message out there that there are other ways of doing things. Just because we do it this way, or the medical profession do it this way, doesn't mean that it's right. It works for some, but it doesn't work for all. And the vast majority of women that go through these processes end up worse. And I'm just talking about, I've not even touched on all the myriad of side effects that can happen from these operations. It's horrendous. You just need to go into forums. And when I first started doing my research for preparing the book, I'd end up in tears. I was working with someone else at the time, and they said, you need to do some work on yourself, because you won't be able to get your message out if you're crying all the time. But I was so upset that the side effects and symptoms that these women were having were horrendous in some cases, and again, they were just dismissed, thrown back out of the hospitals, out of the surgeries, and kind of dismissed, and they were still left with the same symptoms, but worse side effects and worse things. So I do feel very passionate about it. And I've got a daughter myself. She's adopted the same protocols. And what's lovely is when these women who've gone through my program, or like my friends and my daughter, if anything untoward happens or they get anything in their body, they know their body now. So my mission is to help women be educated about their body, information, education, and inspiration, and to help the women that do want to help themselves, have had enough, they've tried everything, they want to try a different route. Then I want to be there for women as and when is possible.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's awesome. I love it. Yeah. It's one thing I wanted to bring up as well too, in my field of work, and especially when I was doing a lot politically and talking about, the different healthcare industries we have, definitely in this country, but also around the world, and how we can vastly improve them and inject new ideas and new things. And you talk about how these physicians are all just, they're all in their own little club, and they're only spewing their own message, and there's no other opportunity for a third party, intervention or idea to come into play and say, hey, maybe what you guys are doing isn't the 100% best way to do it for everybody. Here's a new idea of what's working for others, and it's so true, because I've seen it many times over, and in a way that most individual people haven't seen it in the public because of my work in that arena. And I've seen how there's such a powerful, lobbying group when it comes to the government even. And so these ideas that have been pushed for so long, just in the conventional way of doing things in healthcare, is just rock solid. It has a very, very, very giant machine, not only in this country, in the US, but also over there in the UK and all over the world. And they control a lot of the politicians in how they do things and what they vote for and support because of their powerful lobby. And so they really just have this massive behemoth, of a machine rolling in one direction, and it's never veering from that direction, And so it seems that people are so, it's hard to not only to wake up a lot of people who are just in the general public, who think that that's the only way to go, and all the scientists and the physicians say that's the only way, and so I've got to follow that path, and that's got to be the answer to everything. But also, to get into the physicians as well. I mean, to try and break into that mold where they've been educated for so long, going through all their schooling, going through all the programs and the education of people before them who are doctors and physicians and people who have been teaching them all of these things when they get into that field to begin with. So they don't even know. I know some doctors and people who have gone through 8 years plus of the education system in that arena, and then went out there into the field, and they don't even understand basic nutrition because they've never been taught that. They have no clue about any of these things. Their answer is, well, it's got to be a drug we can give you to take care of that. It has to be a drug. If not, it's surgery or some other operation. That's the only two avenues they can go, and they just really don't understand about how the body works or anything else. And so that's a crying shame. It really is. And that's why we're in this mess, I think, today. And so to have you, on your mission, doing what you're doing, and you talk about how you develop all of these supplements and you're starting to develop so many solutions for these women based on what you have done, what's succeeded and worked well for you, and what's working now for other women that you've been helping, which is so cool, because you're proving it's not just you, it's for tons of people, tons of women. And I mean, we can't maybe necessarily say it's scientific fact 100% that your methods and model works far better than anything else out there, and it's far more successful than even the healthcare industry. But from what we're seeing so far, that is true, at least from my perspective, 100%. And that's all I want to say. But to add to that as well too, Wendy, I know that everything that you're developing here for these women it's out of a love and a care for humanity, and for these other women out there going through what you've gone through, not for the money. A lot of people say, well, it's maybe she's just doing this to build a business and make money and sell supplements and whatever. Well, no, that I know Wendy really well, and I can tell you she's not that way. And I know for a fact that Wendy's actually spent more to date developing all these things for women than what she's been able to take in and pay herself back. And that just proves the care that she has for people. And that's extremely rare.
Yeah, absolutely. I've spent all my life savings. I just felt so compelled to share. And anytime I heard of anyone in chronic pain, I'm like, I have to get this message out. So absolutely. I mean, there's nothing wrong in earning money, but that is not my motivation factor. And I've done lots of free work, and I find that the women that do actually make the commitment, the financial commitment, actually put in the work and actually, are more dedicated than those that are free, funnily enough. And I've done loads of free work because money isn't my motivator. I mean, there's nothing wrong with earning it, and I have no issue with it. You're absolutely right, and it's all about investing in yourself. But yes, I happily spent all this money because I felt that I needed to share that there was another way, as far too many women, and sadly, lots of women ending their lives. It's on these Facebook groups, and you hear via emails and things, young, beautiful girls ending their lives because they can't deal with the pain. And anytime I hear that, that is my motivation. It's like, right, okay, come on, you got to get this message out. And I've had some great help getting this message out, but I'm still a novice. This is a whole new arena for me. But as I say, my whole mission is just to share my message. And if it works for these women, then I've done my job. And the same with the supplements as well. It took me forever to source supplements, all over the world to source supplements. And it ended up costing me a fortune to source supplements that I needed that would work with my endometriosis body. And that's why I want to develop this range. And I hope to develop almost an affiliate program as well, so that the women that if they take supplements and they like them, then they become affiliates themselves and they can earn commissions. So that, again, for these women that are bedbound and not able to work, not get any money, then it's a way of a source of income. Because I was lucky, I had a business before, my own business, and I'd amazingly taken out this insurance policy, which somebody said to me just the other day, you're a rare breed, most people don't bother with this policy. And I was like, well, I don't know what it was, but I always just felt I needed to have that. And it was expensive at the time, but thank goodness I did. But I was lucky. So there I was bedridden, but I still had an insurance policy paying out. What about all these women who are in their bed? And I know they're struggling financially. So that's where the supplement range, another aspect to it is that they can consume the supplements themselves. They need these, they're going to have to eat some capacity. So these supplements, provide that nutritional aspect, and then they can earn a commission on it as well. So that's my thinking behind it. But I just want to get women independent, educated, out of pain, symptom-free, and then sharing that message with me as well.
Definitely. That's fantastic. And being able to earn a living at the same time doing it, maybe not a living to begin with, but in time potentially, because you're right. I mean, how can they have a job or produce an income when they're, bedridden? So absolutely. That's fantastic. It's a great mission. I love it. And I want to support it wholeheartedly. So Wendy, what can people do to get in touch with you, to buy your book, to get involved in one of these programs? What's the process to go through? How can they find you?
Well, I'm running a free paperback book promotion. So if they go onto my website at healendometriosisnaturally.com, they can get a free paperback book, and I just ask them to pay the shipping and handling, which is $7.95, I think, dollars, and then get that book out to them. Or you can go and pay full retail price on Amazon, or you can get the audiobook on Audible. There's the cookbook and things as well. The program as well, if you go onto my website there, you can see the Work with Wendy tab, and you can go in there and apply to work with me. There is there's programs for 2-3 times a year that people can apply to join. Equally, if they want to email me direct at wendy@healendometriosisnaturally.com. I'd love to hear from anybody. But my message is always, A, that you're not alone anymore if you're suffering from this, and B, that there is another way. So just never, never, ever give up, as Winston Churchill used to say.
That's right. It's a great quote. I love it. One of my favorites for sure. So, well, Wendy, thank you so much for taking the time out here to join us today. I really appreciate it. And I love, like I said, I love your message. And I hope that this reaches far and wide all over the world and helps a lot of people, as I know you're already doing. So thanks again. We'll see you all later.
Thanks, Christian. Cheers. Bye-bye.